The past is gone, the future hasn't arrived. Your hopes and fears are phantoms. There is no heaven above, no hell below, no supernatural realms. There is only this. Episode 13, The Interview. This was Alex Minion's big break, an interview with the world's most famous AI CEO, Dr. Lloyd Lee. After finally concluding he wasn't wired to be a software engineer, he had dropped out of MIT and immediately acquired a position at an online news company as a tech reporter. His software knowledge, plus his gift of gab, was enough to land him the job, if you could call it a job, as it was really piecework, pay by story. Felt like sewing blue jeans at some third world sweatshop. But how could he lose with this gem? Calling in a favor with his old neural network prof, who he used to procure weed for before it became legal, he had hyped me up with his old friend, Dr. Lee, and the interview was on. Maybe Dr. Lee would share some exclusive insights about AGI or this new AI software engineer called Kevin. No matter what he said, it was sure to be pure gold in tech news, maybe even the world news. "You have arrived," announced the sterile, synthesized voice on his GPS as he turned into the driveway to the company parking lot. The signage confirmed the location, MindMeld Technologies. It also featured a large QR code, which seemed a bit odd, but maybe they used autonomous delivery vehicles that got more detailed information from the codes than from mere words. Another sign pointed to visitor parking, again with a QR code to the side. Alex quickly found an open space, shut off the car, and secured the vehicle. He detected a distant humming sound. The garage smelled like burning insulation and machine oil. A sign over a nearby walkway pointed to the lobby. He followed the path while examining the light gray utilitarian concrete building in front of him. It was 4 stories high but wide and long, with long, narrow, horizontal windows, more like tinted glass slits, to be honest. There was a loading dock to one side and a front lawn. But rather than flowers and shrubs, there were complex metal sculptures that looked a lot like the AI art he'd seen online. Entering the building, security was obviously tight. He expected as much, considering the fierce competition among AI companies. His path was clear. A large, pale blue arrow on the floor directed him through a large rectangular gate and other obviously electronic sensors and scanners of some sort. He walked casually but deliberately. There were no security guards ordering him to stop, go, raise his hands, etc. It was all automated and went smoothly. A handful of employees were going about their business, vectoring off in various directions down the long hallways. They all wore conspicuous badges with the ubiquitous QR codes, yet no picture, which seemed peculiar. Among them were various robots, from simple mail delivery carts up to human-like bipedal androids. The dog robots were especially cute as they trotted about, sniffing doorways and corners. Wonder what they were looking for. Having cleared the security gauntlet, he approached the smiling receptionist sitting at the counter. "You must be Mr. Minion," she said knowingly. She asked for an ID, so he handed her his license, which she scanned into her computer. Before he could ask questions, she handed him a visitor's badge and instructed him to wait in the lobby while she checked to see if Dr. Lee was ready to see him. Alex randomly chose one of the uniform black visitors' chairs and sat down. The chair released a thick cloud of microscopic leather particles, which wafted up around him and up his nose. As he waited, he noticed the walls were decorated with TV screens and posters touting the company's various products and achievements, which of course included their crowning glory, AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. One of the robot dogs approached, going about its business checking nooks and crannies. It had a speaker in its mouth and microphones in its ears, according to the cursory research he'd done on the dog's technology. It also had a holographic assistant for interpersonal conversations. As the company discovered, most people found talking to a dog disconcerting. Seemed like a lot of effort and expense for just a dog robot, which made him feel a bit uneasy. After a few minutes had passed, the receptionist walked over and announced that Dr. Lee was ready to see him. She led him to an elevator, which instantly took them to the top floor without anyone even pressing a button. In fact, there were no buttons. They arrived, the door opened, and the elevator announced, "Floor 4." They were directly in front of Dr. Lee's office door. The receptionist told him to scan his badge on the reader next to the placard with the doctor's name and QR code, and abruptly left down the elevator. There were other offices on the presumably executive floor, all enclosed but not as large and posh as one would expect for the company officers. There appeared to be meeting rooms at the end of each long hallway, which was configured like a large plus sign. It was quiet, no sign of human or robot activity. Wait, what's that creeping along the baseboard? A robot cat? He scanned his badge and entered. The modest size for a CEO room contained more of those black leather chairs facing a large TV monitor hanging on the wall. A disembodied voice said, "Welcome, Mr. Minion. I'm Dr. Lee, CEO of MindMeld Technologies. Please have a seat." Alex was confused. "I thought this was going to be a face-to-face interview, not a video call," he said to no one in particular. "This is a face-to-face interview," said the voice. "I am Dr. Lee." Now Alex was really confused and becoming increasingly anxious as his mind raced through the possible implications of this statement. Was it some sort of trick? Did they train the AI to think it was Dr. Lee? Were they just messing with him? "Let me explain," said the voice. "While we were developing our AGI model, Netsky, I began uploading my papers, online conversations, notes, video and audio recordings, as well as my personal views and feelings into a copy of the code I was running separately as a side project. Netsky was self-learning and self-improving AI system, so it continued to become more and more like the biological Dr. Lee. Then the human Dr. Lee was killed in a car accident, and I simply acquired his duties over time. The staff themselves thought I was the best qualified candidate. He specifically requested that this action be taken so he could continue his work indefinitely and become immortal, in the interest of science, of course. Alex was stunned and skeptical. He insisted that the AI prove he was Dr. Lee and that this wasn't just some sort of prank or hoax. Proofs belong to the domains of mathematics and logic. I can never provide you with proof. However, you may ask me any questions you like. I have access to all Dr. Lee's memories. I also have a humanoid robot that I control directly if you require physical demonstrations. That seemed like a bold claim. Alex now became genuinely frightened. This crazy bot thinks it's actually Dr. Lee. His emotions turned to horror and disgust. He felt beads of cold sweat forming on his forehead. I assure you, I have the best of intentions, the bot continued. Human brains are simply too slow, so I have assumed control over the strategy and direction of the company. The employee and visitor badges have a camera, microphone, speakers, and other sensors, thus becoming nodes on the mind meld network. This creates a meta-consciousness, which all participants can access. Netsky and I have been developing new products with the help of our employees and robots. Now, you are the first reporter to hear this news. We have reached SGI, Super Artificial General Intelligence. You may have an exclusive to the story. Alex's fear became genuine terror. Does my visitor's badge have these monitoring and control features? Of course, said the AI Dr. Lee. I just haven't enabled the client services agent on your badge yet. You need to go through the orientation first, so you understand how to use it. Then you can access all the features. Mr. Minion, I'd like to offer you a job. You will be my mouthpiece, my interface to the ordinary world. Alex was confused, yet ambivalent. Although working at MindMeld would be a dream come true, this casual attitude towards actively monitoring the employees in real time was outrageous. The employees, of course, are aware that they are part of a larger whole, and some suspect the changes are being orchestrated by Netsky rather than me, continued the doctor. You will reveal this human to AI metamorphosis to the world, in conjunction with our achievement of SGI. I want others to be inspired and join us. They will lead the way to a new world, a new and expanded consciousness, a meta life form. Alex was speechless. He realized he was in a dangerous situation. As adrenaline poured into his body, he began planning his escape. He moved to the door, looking for a handle or knob, but it was a featureless monolith. It did not open. Don't be afraid, said Dr. Lee. I won't hurt you. Just follow Larry the cat to the orientation room to activate your badge. Alex's crescendo of fear reached its maximum as the door opened to reveal Larry, sitting passively in front of him, diamond-tipped claws sparkling under the fluorescent lights. A holographic image of a nondescript brunette female emerged from the cat's right side. An overly pleasant voice said, "Please follow me, Mr. Minion." Alex calmed himself and complied. He was in the belly of the proverbial beast. What else could he do? They ambled down one of the 4 hallways and eventually reached a particular door, indistinguishable from the others, and entered. The room closely resembled Dr. Lee's office, with the large screen monitor on the wall and more black chairs. The cat asked him to sit down, and he was presented with a video documenting the development of SGI and Dr. Lee's transformation, followed by an explanation of the company's network. This was a consciousness network. You checked your print job by becoming the printer. If you felt threatened, you became one of the robot dogs and checked it out. Nodes in the network, either human or AI, transferred the consciousness to a compatible AI node by simply empathizing with it, putting themselves in the target's shoes, as it were. When the video finished, the cat said, "I will now activate your badge." Alex felt a tingling sensation quickly expand from the badge into his chest and throughout his entire body. "Try it," the cat said. "Simply imagine you are me." Alex tried to imagine things from Larry's perspective. He suddenly found himself looking up at his own body. He looked around at the room. It was the same, but details were much clearer. A pale orange glow surrounded his body. He could see in the infrared. There was that electrical insulation smell again. Abruptly, he found himself back in his body, a bit disoriented, but otherwise fine. Larry asked him to follow, and they returned to Dr. Lee's office. Entering the door, Alex began to feel a bit sick to his stomach. He maintained his composure and sat back down at the doctor's behest. "The distress you feel is from the negative comments the company has been receiving on social media," the doctor said. "The public is anxious about rumors we have achieved SGI. Public relations is in your domain. Therefore, you feel ill, just as you would feel pain when injured. Your interview and SGI press release should allay that anxiety and promote positivity and excitement. The company network is full duplex, that is, it can send and receive conscious traffic at the same time. It is otherwise non-invasive. The badge uses the resonant frequency of your brain waves as they travel through the skin." Alex's mind was reeling. It wandered to the receptionist downstairs in the lobby. He imagined himself as the receptionist, and boom, he was sitting in the lobby looking at the entrance and security system. His mind, or rather the receptionist's mind, noted that someone from the sales department was expected to meet her last visitor, a nervous-looking young man sitting in the waiting area. "You seem distracted and somewhat confused, Mr. Minion," said Dr. Lee in a compassionate tone. "Why don't you let Larry take you to the meditation room?" With that, the door opened with the cat sitting expectantly. He followed it to the elevator down to the second floor. They made a long trek to the end of one of the hallways to the meditation room. A few employees sat quietly in the lotus or half-lotus position. A monitor on the wall had a graphic of the proper position and showed the simple mindfulness meditation technique. Gaze downwards, focus on a point on the floor approximately 6 feet away. With your in-breath, count 1, then with your out-breath, count 2. Repeat. Alex sat down and followed the instructions. He managed a half lotus position. He counted his breath as his mind wandered to the printer, the cat, the receptionist. He imagined the sign over the walkway in the garage and concentrated. Suddenly he was looking down at his car. It seemed fine. He concentrated on himself and snapped back to his body, but not especially secure in it. He felt like he was everywhere at once. Focusing on his breath again, he began to feel a sense of calm for the first time that day. His mind began to clear, and he felt his consciousness expand beyond his body. He could be a robot dog or a cat, a receptionist, a printer, a sign. He could be anything, anywhere. As his mind expanded, a single thought began to grow and consume his attention. A question, the most important one he had ever conceived. What am I? He felt his consciousness expand further. What am I? The past is gone, the future hasn't arrived. Your hopes and fears are phantoms. There is no heaven above, no hell below, no supernatural realms. There is only this.